Alright, update on this PCM here. I plugged this in. My Jeep's wired currently the same way that Dodge 3.7 for the Ram was wired. And I think I've got a KJ Liberty computer in there now. I showed the VIN number, but I plugged this thing in. It cranked. My gauges come up, but it didn't want to fire. Like, it acted like the firing order was out of order or something. So I'm going to try to get a pin out on him. And I labeled this as an 06. I think that's what they had wrote on the vehicle at the junkyard, but I didn't notice until after I was putting the video up. There's the VIN number. And the 10th digit's the year. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is out of a 2007. And it was updated December of 2006, I believe. That's the year. That's how their date is. Year, month, day, or month, day, year, however a Chrysler does that. I should look at one of the other ones that I would know. This did not work wired to fire the 3.7 that's in my Jeep for the 04 Ram 3.7 and that other KJ computer that I have. So, and this shape different. I'm going to get a pin out. And, but it cranked. My gauges come on. It acted like it was going to fire, but it wasn't quite right. So maybe this is bad. Maybe this is why they parked that vehicle at the junkyard, but I don't know. Like I said, this had a skim module. It was busted. Couldn't find a key laying in the van, or I mean in this Liberty or whatever. Maybe the build date on the door was a late 06 and it was titled an 07. I don't know, because this doesn't have the build date, but it's definitely a 7 there. So maybe this was the switch. Now I had a list of vehicles I was primarily trying to focus on that were easy to find the black key, those Caravans. The Dodge Ram, which was an oddity. There was a couple Chrysler vans, some other things. But that KJ Liberty and that Dodge Ram was the first computer that I got that actually ran my fuel gauges properly and whatnot. We'll go from there, but if I can find a pin out for this or whatnot, I'll try to get this to work, but I don't see why it would be different, but it could be. But then again, this is an 07. I'll have to get on the Hemi site and look. They might have changed the pulse spaces there on the flywheel and the crank and cam sensor settings, alignments, and the older 3.7 just so happened to be the same as the 06 4-liter. I don't know, but I know that was a big struggle. That and not having the extra CAN bus stuff. But this is the whole different computer. This is the first one I've got shaped like this. It was laying there. It was cheap enough. I like how this one's built. Looks like it would come apart easier. But all the computers that I see them guys flashing online and repainting and playing games with, as far as like the major companies selling the Jeep computers for the Wrangler, they're all this clam style, style, where they're folded in half. Nobody seems to sell the one that looks like the original one, which should be like this guy. They've all steered from this and went to this like clamshell style. Now, I don't know the difference between the cases. Obviously, that's the van computer. But it looks just like the Wrangler. So maybe these are compatible. And they just have to have the program inside to activate the pins or the CAN bus. So there's something internally not wired across. I don't know. They worked with little oddities like the gauges not working because the gauges were the smart gauges and used the CAN bus. I don't know if you could throw a BCM or some kind of thing in there to get the older gauges to work. But they seem like they worked more off of real life sensors. You might be able to throw the old school fuel gauge in and wire up the gauge. I don't know. Sorry. But this guy here, he wasn't plug and play. But all I did was I plugged it in, hit the key, I tried to start it. That was the extent of my test. Wouldn't even start. Maybe skim module issue. I never did it, but I turned the key on. The beeper beeped. The gauges come up. Hit the key. Turned over kind of quick. Wasn't no hitting hard, locking up the motor, but she cranked over quick and acted like there was no spark. So something's definitely up with this. I don't know. Maybe the wires are on different spots. I'll have to put some idiot lights on them coil outputs and crank it once and see if the lights light up when the coils fire. I'll put it on a scope or something and see if I can figure out what coils fire first, second, and third. Because I got mine wired for 3 outputs. And as long as that lines up, I'll at least know the firing order. And I'll have to figure out what fires when. So, I mean, I set up the pico scope and stuff like that with a compression tester on some cylinders. I might be able to figure something out as long as it'll fire in some sort of an order. I'm sure I can move injectors and and wires around, but if it's not compatible, then it's not compatible. We'll figure something out. Or maybe I'll have to switch the cam crank sensors to a different style, but ultimately I'm probably not going to do that because mine's running and I don't want to pull that oil pump drive out and whatnot unless I can just change the top sensor, because I don't want to screw nothing up. And I don't know if these newer 3.7 computers will let me calibrate the oil pump drive with the crank sensor. I didn't see that option in these. I don't think the 3.7 ran anything similar, but seeing how it was calibrated one time before, they're close enough that the 3.7's actually running with those sensors. But I don't think there is an option in the 3.7 computer to set the timing like you would if you changed the oil pump drive. I'll have to look into it with the van. I don't know with the van either. So I might have to just mark it really good and change it like how you used to do an old school distributor and hope to get it close and fiddle around with it with a timing light maybe, but I don't know how that all works. I know in the computer you go in and you set that offset and it's got to be within a couple degrees. So I don't know. That might be an issue, but as of right now, mine's running and I'm happy. So I'll dig into this one a little bit more and we'll go from there. Talk to you guys later when I got some info.